Joined here with one of my clients, Conor. So Conor's been training with me for the last 2 months and has got some amazing results with his flexibility and mobility. So Conor, thanks for joining the call today and taking time out of your day.
Thanks, Conor.
So before we get into it, can you tell people a bit about yourself, where you're from, where you live, family, kids, and how old you are?
Yep. So Conor, as we know, we went to school together for a year.
Yeah.
So we're both from Ireland.
Yeah.
And we've known each other since we were about 17, 18 years of age. And basically you've kind of come back onto my radar with your coaching. We'd lost contact. I realized that you were starting to do a professional program and providing programs for people. And it was something that piqued my interest. And that's basically how we got back in contact with each other. So I live in Orange, New South Wales, and I'm 32. And similar kind of background to yourself. We grew up playing Gaelic sports at home in Ireland, and then the last few years I've been playing rugby. So I was having a lot of issues in regards to like back pain and kind of inflexibility, and focusing primarily on kind of gym strength and that kind of stuff. So that was my motivation to get back in contact with you.
Yeah, okay, cool. So with regards to your injuries and everything like that, can you kind of go through your injury history and the stuff that you've had issues with?
Yeah, so the primary injury that I've had ongoing since I was probably 18 has been the right shoulder problem. So I had a shoulder surgery when I was 21 to kind of stop it from dislocating. So I've probably had in excess of over 100 dislocations in that time over the past, say, 10 years more. And even when I was playing football, it was, say, rugby, I was dislocating my shoulder commonly enough. It hasn't caused me too much grief since, but so definitely reduced flexibility. I've had to modify my strength work because of that kind of fear of dislocation. And the other thing that was probably come into effect in the last few years especially has just been kind of residual effects of tightness and low back pain primarily. So my job now includes a lot of driving. I live in regional New South Wales, so there's lots of sitting throughout the day writing reports as well as driving. So it was kind of a whole myriad of factors that kind of causing these ongoing issues.
Yeah, okay, cool. So basically you dislocated your shoulder and that got, up to 100 dislocations over kind of a 10-year period. And then over the last 10 years as well, with all of the basically work and the heavy commuting, that's really affected your mobility around the hips and affects the lower back as well.
Yeah, and the type of training that I was doing, not really doing any flexibility work really, bar the stretching that you might do at football training or rugby training, and then going into doing gym work like squats and leg press and stuff like that. So not really working on the flexibility element of things.
So let's just look at kind of the last 3 years and what sort of, we'll say, you can talk about exercise as well, but specifically what type of gym work have you been doing for the last kind of 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, so look, I just adapted a very kind of standard gym program that you would see. So lots of free weights, working on the big compound movements, so bench press, squat, leg press, pull-ups, dips. So basically doing a program with a specified body part every day or every few days, so back day, chest day, etc. And that had proven to give me a certain amount of results. But recently I found that it was probably compounding the issues that I was facing, especially in regards to flexibility and low back pain. And that was impacting on my ability to perform those lifts properly. And that was kind of the main reason for me.
So with the lower back, how was the lower back? Like what was was it affecting your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it definitely was. And this was the main reason to get in contact with you. But essentially, I was getting up in the mornings with low back pain. Some nights better than others. It wasn't always constant. But basically, I'd get out of bed some days and I'd be like really sore in my lower back. So the sacroiliac SI joint around there being, exacerbated by super, super tight hamstrings, super, super tight hip flexors. And it really began to become more of an issue as I did more and more driving, and I was getting older and my flexibility was reducing anyway. And it just became an issue whereby that on a daily basis, not every day, but every few days, I was experiencing discomfort. And I was like, well, that's not right. I don't have a physical reason for my hip hurting me or my back hurting me. I haven't blown my back out. So I really wanted to start to explore what was causing this ongoing pain.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And did you have any apprehensions before we started working together?
No, it's the honest truth. Obviously, I've done a lot of physical training through team sports, and so I didn't have any apprehension in regards to the type of training. I was more excited about the different types of elements that you were bringing. And from a personal perspective, obviously, we know each other, so that wasn't a concern either. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's like I didn't trust anything that you were going to do. So how would you say the program is different to the stuff you've tried in the past?
Well, we're in the COVID-19 scenario currently, so thus far it has been bodyweight, which has been really, really interesting because, I would consider myself to have an amount of strength, and this is really focusing on areas where I have no strength. So as we discussed last week in regards to like shrimp squats and stuff like that, even though it's a bodyweight exercise, it's incredibly difficult. There's a lot of skill. There's a lot of skill in regards to some of the body movements. And that's what's really been the most challenging aspect is mastering the technique and body position and utilizing the correct muscle groups, etc. So, it's been really knowledgeable. It's been really educational for me to be able to learn how to do these different type of movements and train my body in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really good point about like learning skills in your program as well, as opposed to just getting, sweaty, which a lot of people tend to just focus on. So actually having specific movements that you want to refine and improve on. So that's good you saw that change or that difference with the program. With regards to your physical change over the last 8 weeks, can you kind of outline the benefits that you've experienced?
Yeah, well, straight away, my back pain is pretty much gone. So that was my main objective and goal. And the body weight, being so body weight focused and being on exercising with just your body, it's re-emphasized the fact that you can do a lot anywhere, anytime, first and foremost, but also because a lot of the movements that we identified for the program required an amount of flexibility. So more than anything,
sorry to interrupt you, Conor. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. You just dropped off there, that last point you made. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I can, of course. What I was saying was the exercises that we had identified for my program really emphasized the use of flexibility or being more flexible. And in doing the movements, it kind of showed me that I was not doing the movements to the correct form and technique. And that was really because of my flexibility. So more than anything, the program has focused my mind on increasing my flexibility, just doing some stretching every day. And that's really helped me through the program, doing the exercises and then also incorporating a bit of a stretching regime for myself. And it's made my back pain pretty much null and void.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe you can kind of outline how you kind of built it into your day more and the kind of that mindset with regards to movement and flexibility. So maybe talk about how you're not just doing your session, you're kind of incorporating it into day-to-day throughout the day.
Yeah, so I'm incredibly time poor, as you know. So at the moment, because of COVID-19, we're doing Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams. You're sitting there listening to the same crap that you listened to for the last week. And, you're sitting there for an hour and a half teleconference. And to be honest, my time could be spent doing so much better. So For example, when I'm on these video calls and stuff like that, I will often get down the floor and just stretch out, and that's an hour and a half where I'm probably just going to be sitting there and staring at a computer screen. But I've really taken these opportunities, just building those exercises and movements into my daily routine, and basically maximizing what I'm getting out, not just out of the program, but out of the gains that I've made in the program, that I'm kind of compounding those improvements on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, that's literally the key to improving your mobility is, instead of thinking about doing a 30-minute session, 3 times a week, it's just incremental movements throughout the day is going to have a really positive impact. So it's great that you've made that point in this call, because it's such a beneficial way to change your activities on a daily basis. So, sorry, you were going to say something, Conor?
And even just your point, as we discussed last week about, sitting, like I do so much sitting, 8 hours in a day, I could be sitting in an office chair. But just incorporating, sitting on the floor, just using different body parts, opening my hips up. You can do so much. You can be on a phone call and sit on the floor. I've had some funny, inquisitive looks when people have walked into my office and seen me sitting on the floor, staring at my phone or whatever. But like, it's just those little activities that makes your day that much easier, makes your body a bit more flexible, and makes things a little bit easier for me anyway. Yeah,
definitely. So, last question, Conor. If, let's say, there's someone who was kind of in a similar situation to you, with regards to, a lot of field sport background, a lot of heavy training, but, they're kind of in their 30s or 40s, and they are really starting to feel things tighten up. What advice would you give to them based on kind of where you've come from?
Well, yeah, exactly. I've come from that background of playing a lot of field sports, playing a very physical game like rugby. And so a lot of my focus initially was, let's get strong, let's get big, let's get physical. And, that's fine. That's fine for what you're trying to do. But if you do that for long enough, I find that your flexibility just continues to decline more and more. And if you, like anything, if you don't use it, your flexibility is just going to get worse and worse. So for somebody that's probably, say, finishing up their sporting career, playing team sports and stuff like that, you're going to have a lot of free time from now on. And it's about utilizing that time to start training your body in the correct way. And really what the whole point of me getting in contact with you about was knowledge. So, I can go to the gym and I can do deadlifts, fine. I can go to the gym and I can do bench press, fine. But functional movement, learning how to train my body in a functional way, improving my functional activity, not just in the gym, but, walking around, doing any kind of functional activities, being strong in your body. Like, there's so many physios out there that are basically paid, X amount of money because half of their clients have weak glutes, for example, and they're not activating their glutes and stuff like that. And so that was my concern, and I'm in the health industry, and recognizing that it doesn't get any better than when you're 30. In fact, it actually just gets worse and worse and worse. So doing something like this now, educating myself, so that I can work on this progressively, for the next, hopefully, 100 years or whatever I live for. But, just being equipped with the knowledge that, like, I can actually do this and keep my body in good nick. And that's basically it. That was the raw point behind it.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you've got a background in field sports and teams, you're getting a lot of that training in a group, and you're getting coached, and then when you're out by yourself, you kind of have to do everything by yourself. So I definitely think, getting either accountability through a friend or accountability through a coach is going to be the best thing once you kind of come out of that, set sport, whether it's rugby or soccer or Aussie rules or Gaelic football or whatever it is.
Any sport,
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. Thanks for your time today, Conor.
Thank you very much, Conor.
All right. All done.